Hello everyone, this is Angie at Stampin' with Amore, and today is card day. So I am sharing an Easter card because Easter is right around the corner. So I am using the Wildly Happy stamp set, which is these little bunnies here. And then I'm also using this background embossing folder, which is our 3D ornate floral. And this is new and it's available now. It went available to customers April 1st. But it is part of a suite, the Ornate Garden Suite, and I cannot talk enough about that. I am over the moon about that suite. Is the embossing on here, and we're going to use the same embossing folder for this card. We are watercoloring today, and it's so fun. I really like how this card turned out. It was a lot of fun to do, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. All right, so for this, you are going to need a card base, 5.5 by 4 1/4, your basic card. I'm using Thick Whisper White because I always use it on my card bases. To mat it, we are using Highland Heather, 4 inches by 5 1/4. So then you'll need a piece of watercolor paper, and this piece of watercolor paper is 3 3/4 by 5, and I am using the Stampin'Up Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is really good watercolor paper, and you definitely need it for this project. I'm also using an extra piece of that so that we can stamp and watercolor our bunnies as well. The first thing we're going to do is emboss with our Ornate Floral embossing folder. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll bring the big shot up here. And I am using a regular platform for this because this is a 3D folder. When I use it, I always use the Stampin'Up side up first. Make sure that you have, we only partially embossing this, because if you could see on this card, it is only partially embossed up to about there. And that is so I can put my sentiment on there. And when you do this, make sure that it is straight, because you don't want a crooked line. So I try to really look at it really good and make sure it's straight all the way across. Then we're going to use our plate that we have especially for our 3D embossing folders, and I love this plate. It works fabulous. And then we have our partially embossed card base. Alright, so that is all we're doing with the big shot. We are going to color this. Alright, so this is how I watercolor. I just use our Stampin' Up! Ink pads. I'm going to put the Highland Heather on here, and I always use, this is one of our large clear blocks. It's actually for stamping, but I use it for all kinds of things other than stamping. It really comes in handy. And then I'm using some Granny Apple Green on the other side. And then I am just going to add water to this, and I am going to start coloring this embossed part. And I'm actually, the flowers kind of pop up and stand up a little bit more, so I'm just kind of, and this is nothing fancy, I'm just going over all where I see the little flowers, and I am, like I said, not being fussy. It's watercoloring, and it's so fun to do. It is really relaxing. We need something relaxing right now, right? I really love this. And then we're going to use the Granny Apple Green between. So we are going to just, and it doesn't, I don't even have some of them, I don't even have on top of the flowers, but I'm trying to get just on top of, there's some little flowers and there's some larger ones, and I'm just going over it. You can color this however you like. It's really fun to just be a little bit messy, and then I'm going to drag some of this down onto the part that is not. And I forgot one thing. I forgot, we really, before I go any further, I need to stamp and emboss my sentiment, because I'm getting down where the sentiment is, and I don't want it to get wet here. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I'm going to just use my Memento Black and my Happy Easter. And I need to do this before we go any further. All right, so I'm going to stamp the Happy Easter down at the bottom here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm grabbing my clear embossing. And this is important when you're watercoloring because you want to keep your sentiment clear. It's easier. If you're not going to watercolor down towards there, it doesn't matter. But when you want to watercolor, you need to seal it with your clear emboss. So I'm going to grab my heat emboss tool. All right, so not only does it, you probably saw that, but not only does it seal it, but it really makes it bold and really pretty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, since we're already embossing and all that, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp the bunnies and do the same with the bunnies on this because we're watercoloring on them, and once again we want to seal them so we can color them. All right, once again, your clear emboss, and this is a little trick I learned a long time ago, and it really, really works well. All right, once again, I'm going to emboss that. Okay, so the bunnies are ready to go, ready to be watercolored. So we're going to set them aside for a minute and we're going to continue with this one since I got ahead of myself. So now that I have the gorgeous, not gorgeous grape, but Highland Heather on there, I'm going to add some Granny Apple Green. So I'm just going to squeeze that out and clean off the end of my brush and add some water to the Granny Apple Green. And I am just going to, and you want to leave some space too. I am not coloring this whole thing in. I'm just filling in some of the voided spaces there. And I want to keep it light, so I'm adding quite a bit of water to it. I'm going to drag a little bit of that down. It's really light, but I just want to have a little bit down there. All right, so I think that's good enough. And that's why I wanted to protect my Happy Easter. And I really like the way it looks when it is embossed. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do here is add a little bit more water. And I'm actually going to use my brush for this part. I'm going to do some splattering, and I'd rather do it with my brush than with the aqua painter. It just works better with the brush. And we're not doing a whole lot. I'm going to do some Granny Apple Green too. All right, I think that's good enough. So let's clean this off. And we're going to do the bunnies. We'll set that aside and let that one dry. All right, so let's do the bunnies. We're going to use, for the bunnies, some soft suede. And I'm just using a little Blushing Bride, and that's going to be for their ears and their cheeks. Once again, I'm going to add water to this, and I want the bunnies light in most of the areas, so I'm going to use quite a bit of water there. And then I'm just going to do the light part first, and then I'm going to go back and just shade a little bit of it. These are so fun to do. All right, so I'm going to grab some from where I didn't add water, and I'm going to just add a little bit while it's wet. It's important you do this while it's wet to get a little bit of the shading. It's really easy. I mean, just go with it. It's so easy and it's really fun to do. All right, so I think that's good for them. I'm going to do their ears. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. And then I'm just going to add a little bit to their cheeks. And that's it. We're going to go ahead. We need to fussy cut them out. But we're going to go ahead and get the card together, and then we'll fussy cut that. Super quick and easy fussy cutting for that. Always keep a paper towel next to you because you do need it for this. It's really messy. All right, so let's get the card together here. I'm going to just use snail, and we're going to add the Highland Heather to this. And then we'll add our embossed piece here. It's really pretty. I love this technique and it's so fun to do. All right, so that is all ready to go. Now all we have to do is cut our little bunnies out. So I'm going to try to use the smallest piece because there is a little trick to, you know, when you cut this, try not to do a huge piece. Try to do it in little pieces. It is, I mean, I'm leaving a little bit around it. It's easier when the pieces are small. And this is really simple, actually, fussy cutting. There's not much to this one. All right, the bunnies are all fussy cut out. They're so cute and it's really fun. It's so relaxing to me. I mean, I could sit and fussy cut. I know a lot of people don't like to do it. I've heard it over and over, but we all need some relaxing time in these times right now. So start fussy cutting. It's a lot of fun. All right, so we're putting some dimensionals on the back here. And then we're going to pop him up on here. So I'm going to put it right about there. And there you have it. Isn't that so cute? I really love these bunnies a bunch. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications each time I upload a new video. Have a blessed one, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye.